What's up, everybody? Welcome to the final round. I'm your host Isaiah, and today I'm going to be recapping the UFC Fight Night that just took place last night between David Onama and Steve Garcia. Pretty solid fight night. There's a bit of controversy in one of the fights. Go over that when we get to it. It was wild, but honestly, it was a pretty solid fight night. Won a little bit of money. I'd rank it 6.57 out of 10. Not the best, but not as bad as people were saying it was going to be. So to get right into it, first fight of the night we had Talita Alencar versus Ariane Carnelossi. Talita Alencar won this fight by third round rear naked choke. She did gas out, I believe, in the first round, and you saw that in rounds 2 and 3 while they were on the feet when Ariane Carnelossi was closing in and making it dirty, getting into the pocket. She was having success and hurting Talita Alencar. Alencar was landing some shots back, but on the feet, it was clear that Carlossi had the more physical advantage. But anytime it got to the ground, Carlossi had no answer to get up off her feet, and Alencar just smothered her. And in that third round, she finally locked in a choke. She had a choke right near the end of the second round, but Carlossi survived. And in the third round, there was just too mumuch time, so she had to tap. So Talia Alencar got the win by third round sub. So good win. Definitely needs to work on her cardio. Um, can't be gassing out like that. But good win. Let's move on. We had Seok Ko versus Phil Rowe. Seok Ko got the fight by unanimous decision. Uh, while they were on the feet, Phil kind of used his reach and his length to an advantage. But anytime they got in close and got to the clinch, Seok Ko would get the fight to the ground, and Phil Rowe just couldn't get off his feet or get off the ground. So that was the majority of the fight. Shotgun Go just controlled Phil Rowe on the ground for majority of the 3 rounds, and yeah, nothing much else other than that. So good win by Shotgun Go, and honestly, he might be even at his age, he might be a problem in this division, especially on the ground. He has a physical strength advantage on the ground. That much is clear. So I like to see him against the actual wrestler next. See if he can do the same thing he has been doing in his past 2 fights. So good one by him. Let's move on. We got Alice Ardeline versus Montserrat Ruiz. Alice Ardeline got the fight by unanimous decision. This fight was honestly a scrap. Um, they were both swinging, both landed some crisp shots on each other, but the size advantage was clear on Alisa's side, and Ruiz was just a bit too small to be able to get in close enough and have the success she needed to have. So Elise just ended up landing the better shots, landing the more powerful shots, and just beat Montserrat Ruiz on a convincing 3 round decision. So good win by Elise Adeline. To move on, we had Norma Dumont versus Ketlin Vieira. I thought Ketlin Vieira edged this out by squeaky decision. I was a bit shocked. As soon as I heard Joe Martinez said split decision, I was like, "Oh my God, they're gonna give it to Norma Dumont. They're gonna give it to Norma Dumont," and that's exactly what they did. Um, and it's one of those fights where you have to base it off the second round because the first round you have to give to Kevin Vieira, in my opinion. Third round goes to Norma Dumont. And the second round is just Norma got taken down. And it was a half the round. So it's kind of how you see it. Kellen didn't do enough on the ground. Maybe that's probably why they gave it to Norma. But it's just we know why they gave it to Norma. It's more marketable if Norma won the fight. They probably want Norma to get up there to her title shot. She probably fights like a Juliana Pena next because Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison's probably the next title fight in that division. So, and that doesn't happen until sometime next year. So it'll be a while. But okay, win Minor or Dumont. I still think it's an iffy decision, but we'll give it to her. Let's move on. We had Billy Alicana. I'm not sorry. Dante Johnson versus Rodriguez Dumas. Can we cut Rodriguez and Dumas? Can we please cut Rodriguez and Dumas because he's not good, and he just got submitted by a guy who was 6-0 and only had first round knockouts, and he got submitted by him. A guy who just started his career, I think, like a year ago, a year or 2 years ago. So can we cut Rodriguez? It was a solid win by Dante Johnson. He did get tested a bit. I'll give Rodriguez that. He did get tested because he went into the second round. I thought it would have been a first round knockout, like most people probably thought. But Dante Johnson looked good. All the spinny and unorthodox stuff Rodriguez was doing probably threw Dante a bit, and he took down Rodriguez a bit. And this guy in the guillotine in the second round, and Rodriguez just had tap. So solid win by Dante Johnson. Losing 7-0, and yeah, can we cut? Let's just cut Rodriguez. He's not UFC caliber. So move on. We got Timmy Kwamba versus Chang Ho Lee. Timmy Kwamba got the fight by unanimous decision. He just looked better than Chung Ho Lee in I think at all aspects of the fight. While they were striking, he was just landing the better shots, making it more gritty, and just landing the more powerful shots that hurt Chung Ho Lee. Um, it was a very solid fight. It started slow for Timmy, but he turned it up throughout the fight and edged it out by decision. So I like. I'm still not sold on Timmy Kwamba, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's move on. We got Billy Elicano versus Kevin Christian. Um, yeah. I don't know what they were trying to do to Kevin Christian. Um, but he died. He got put to sleep. He tapped and then got put to sleep because the ref could not see. He was looking. I'll give him. He was looking under the body to see if the choke was in, and that arm that you see right there was the one that tapping, so he couldn't see. He couldn't see, and Chris Tognoni, yeah, he couldn't see. So, but he should have been aware. Kevin Christian did tap. I didn't think Kevin Christian was going to win, not at all, and it looked exactly how I thought it would. Billy got him down and choked him in the first round. So, solid win by Billy. Didn't beat a UFC caliber guy yet, but solid win by him. Just poor Kevin Christian got put to sleep, dude. He got put to sleep and he got busted up bad. So didn't look good for him. Did not look good for him. But yeah, let's move on to the main card. We had Alan Nascimento versus Cody Durden. Alan Nascimento got this fight done via an anaconda choke in the second round. Just looked better than Cody Durden. I mean, it's kind of what I expected. Um, Cody Durden, like I said, is on the back end of his career. He did have some, was making the gritty, was in there with Al Nascimento in that first round, especially, but he just couldn't, sustain it, and just got caught via anaconda choke too. Just it happens in everyone's career. He did take it on short notice, so we got to remember that. So it was a solid win by Alan Nascimento. I think Alan Nascimento is going to be somebody in this flyweight division who can make a name for himself. So we'll see what he's able to do. And I went over a former ranked contender in Cody Durden, who's beaten some solid names before. Looks good on the resume. So solid win by Alan Nascimento. Let's move on. We had Charles Radke versus Daniel Frunza. Charles Radke submitted Daniel Frunza in the third round, right near the end of the fight. It's what I said. If he uses his wrestling, he's going to win the fight, and that's exactly what happened. Um, he used his wrestling, and you got to take down in each of the rounds and just land the strikes on the ground. Daniel Frunza could not get up off the ground, and in that third round, he was finally able to sink in the rear naked choke and got the fight done by rear naked choke. And solid win by Radke. I like Radke. If he fights smart in these fights, he can probably become a ranked fighter. I don't know if he ever fights for a title, but I think he can at least become ranked in this division, even though it's becoming a very populous division of contenders. So I think he can be one of them. But let's move on. We had a very suspicious fight in Isaac Dalgarian versus Yadier Davele. First and foremost, let's just say Yadier Davele got the fight done via rear naked choke in the first round. But let's also say this. A suspicious amount of money. The betting odds shifted a very suspicious amount 1 hour before this fight. And the betting lines for this fight closed before the Radke fight. Isaac Dalgarian was a minus 270 and became a minus 135 within an hour. And the betting line for Yadier via first round submission went from plus 850 to like a plus 475 plus 400. A very suspicious amount of money came in very late. And that's very reminiscent of like 3 years ago when Derek Minner fought, I can't remember his name, but you know who he was training with, James Krause, and went into that fight injured. The injury was not disclosed, and it was a leg injury, and he threw that leg multiple times on purpose just to lose. And James Krause got busted and banned, and fucking a lot of trouble for that shit. And any fighter who's trained with him was not allowed to fight in the UFC, so they all had to find new gyms. And surprisingly enough, Isaac Dalgarian was one of those guys who was training with James Krause. So I'm not saying it's him, but I'm not. It's kind of suspicious. It's kind of a coincidence that kind of same shit happens again. So there's got to be some investigating done in this fight, especially considering all that happened. And there has been no word from Isaac Dalgarian yet. He hasn't made a public statement, so we'll see. And he was a highly touted prospect, a grappling prospect, and he couldn't get the takedown. So yeah, I don't know, dude. Gotta be investigated. It's gotta be investigated. The fix was in. The fix was in. Let's move on. We had Jeremiah Wells versus Themba Grimbo. Jeremiah Wells won the fight by unanimous decision. He just fucking just outworked, outgrappled Themba Grimbo. And yeah, Themba Grimbo just looked to be out strength, you know, not as strong as Jeremiah Wells. That much was clear. It's kind of surprising because Jeremiah Wells is like 39, 40 years old. Then McGregor lost to that, so yeah, yeah. I don't really care about this fight. It was boring. I was kind of cooking dinner during this fight, so I didn't pay much attention. So good fight. Oh, good one by Jeremiah Balls. Let's move on to the main event. We had oh man, the heavyweight division. Surprising stance right now. These past couple weeks, man. Um, because it had looked like Ante Lili had won this fight in the first round by TKO, but the fight got time out because Ante Delia had actually poked Waldo Cortez Acosta in the eye. The ref, called it off, kinda, and Ante is, celebrated and probably had a big adrenaline dump that really cost him. And they gave Waldo Cortez Acosta some time to recover. They gave him a lot of time to recover. Very interesting, uh, you know, chain of events. And it ended up being that Wilder was like, "Let me fight. I can fight. My vision's coming back. Let me fight. Let me fight." And due to that supposed adrenaline dump from Ante Delia from thinking he won the fight, um, Waldo Cortez Acosta landed a fucking jab cross, but not really a jab cross. It was more so of like a left hook overhand that dropped Ante Delia, and he just fucking fell to the ground, and Waldo landed some ground and pound shots, and they called the fight. So Waldo ended up getting the fight via TKO. And then he's shitting on Tom Aspinall, saying, "Hey, you get poked in the eye and you don't continue. I get poked in the eye and I continue." And now everyone's online shitting on Tom, saying like, "Oh my god." And Ante DeLeo was asked earlier this week about eye pokes, and he said there should be bigger punishments for it. And heavyweight division's in a fucking weird situation, dude. It is in a weird situation. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Weird. But solid win by Waldo Cortez Acosta. Um, yeah. Weird chain of events. Sorry. That's all I'll say. Getting over a cold right now. Ugh. Let's move on. We got the main event. We had Steve Garcia versus David Onama. Steve Garcia won the fight via first round TKO. He was on, dude. David Onama was far too patient in this fight. He was just sitting on the outside waiting for the perfect shot to, present itself. But Steve Garcia wasn't allowing that to happen. He was just moving, just like using the head movements, staying busy, staying active, mobile, and staying in David Onama's face, pushing him against the fence, staying, putting on the pressure to David Onama. And David Onama was landing a few solid shots, but Steve was just on his ass for the whole fight. He just ended up landing these shots that put David Onama on his chicken feet. Steve Garcia followed, landing the shots. David Onama followed. He fell. And that was that. And Steve Garcia's a problem, dude. I think Steve Garcia he's big too for this division. He's a big guy, and I think he can have some success. There are a few holes that I see when like he blitzes in to get these finishes that he used to get. He blitzes in and he kind of leaves his chin open, and he gets hit with shots. And I think maybe one of these top guys can hurt him and put him on his, wobble him, put him on his chicken feet. But I think anyone else he's gonna beat. I think he's a problem. I like him in this division. I think he's a solid fighter, and I think he's underrated. Not many people are talking about him, and people are shitting on this fight. And this was a solid fight, dude. This was a solid fight card, other than the controversial two fights we had. But solid win by Steve Garcia. Um, maybe give him Josh Emmett next. That'd be a solid fight for him. He called up Max Holloway. Does not make sense. Max is at 55, and he's going to be fighting Charles Oliveira next, most likely. So, yeah, we'll see what he gets next. But it's all won by Steve Garcia. But that's going to do it for this recap video. This weekend, we got Bonvim versus Brown. That's a good fucking fight, dude. I think Randy Brown gets that done, and then oh shit, dude. Next week, guys. Next week we got UFC 322. Oh, and we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there live in person, especially when Jack Del Maulana fucking takes out Islam, dude. Just wait, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And the other three cards, we Sukin versus Hooker, Tavalis Finley versus John 2, and also Pantoja versus Joshua Van. And then the last card of the year, Revolve versus Cop. Last three fight cards, pretty solid, not gonna lie. But that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Thank you all for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and yeah. And remember, all greatest fighters leave it all in the final round. Peace.